What's up, everybody? Four Star Sports Media got John Starter in the Sports Buffet. Today's Tuesday, and we got a lot to talk about, guys. We got trivia today. Today's Tuesday trivia, as you all know. Yesterday was Mouthful Monday. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got Olyvia Sayer coming over to talk Georgia baseball today. John, we got a jam-packed show, man. Just give me some opening thoughts on some sports topics before we get this thing going. You're on mute, buddy.
It was an
There he
interesting
is.
day. It was an interesting weekend regarding baseball, the hockey, the NBA. Let's dig it in. Let's go get our plate and a fork. Let's dig in.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. It is time for our appetizer portion of the show. That's just the very beginning. That's what we talk about at the beginning, in case you haven't figured that out. It's time for a little appetizer, John. Let's start with the burning question of the show, and that is simple. Are you excited for the UFL championship? I'll start with you, John.
One of our former guests, Greg Gasson, made a great point over the weekend talking about how that's going to be in St. Louis. And now it's a shame that the St. Louis team ain't going to be even hosting their own championship in their own city because they've been having 30,000 plus at each of their ball games. I'm to be honest with you, two great coaching matchups. Wade Phillips for the San Antonio and good old Holtz from Birmingham. So that's going to be an interesting coaching matchup, and I'm really going to be tuned in for that because the coaching matchups is where it gets me in this league. You know, there's so many great coaches and so many great players on both sides of football. And heck, San Antonio's a smash mouth football team the last couple of weeks as well, where they've been running over St. Louis over 200 yards last week, and now they're going to be trying to ruin Birmingham on winning back to back to back, it seems, for that UFL championship. So that's going to be kind of interesting in that per se, because now you only have maybe like 8,000 people in the dome rather than the 35,000 to 40,000 like Greg Gaston brought up over the weekend.
Yeah, and it wouldn't shock me if some Battle Hawk fans didn't go. I would go. I mean, if I lived in St. Louis and it was there, I would go. And I'm excited about it, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's been an exciting season. I enjoyed last year. This year is even more fun to me. We'll actually be on the call today with Skip Holtz at 11:45 to hear his thoughts on the man a San Antonio Brahmas team that's just kind of taking the identity of their coach and just kind of hard nosed, man. But we'll get into that more here in just a little bit when we go over the UFL championship. John, today is Tuesday, and that means it's Trivia Tuesday. So we'll start with the Arkansas Razorbacks. Trivia question number one today is: in 32 years in the SEC, how many winning seasons in conference does the Arkansas Razorback program have? Any guess on that one, John?
In 32 years, 7.
Yep.
Really?
Okay. All right. I mean, I didn't say one way or another. All right. And trivia question number two: Memphis Tigers in 2023. What was the Memphis football record when rushing for 100 or more yards a game? The bonus question here would be, what is the record when they didn't rush for it? But I didn't put that on there. But we'll go over the answers here in a little bit to close the show out. But yeah, man, John, jam-packed show today, man. Gonna be a lot of fun. All right, man, let's get over to the main course. And let's start with the Stanley Cup, John. Right now, these two teams are crisscrossing all over the world. They're going from Florida to Canada. Well, Florida's up 2-0 right now. And so it's going to take the Edmonton Oilers a lot to come back. John, what's your thoughts on the Stanley Cup so far?
First of all, give both teams a lot of credit by playing a lot of tough teams to get there. First of all, like Edmonton had to face Dallas last series, and then Florida just cakewalked and beat a good Ranger team, I believe it was. So yeah, 2-0 right now, Florida. And I really thought maybe it'd be going 1-1 right now and going into Canada for Game 3. And to be honest with you, I think Edmonton might win both of those because one, they're traveling 2,000 miles to Canada. And it's a different type of altitude up there in Canada as well. But yeah, Edmonton looks like they've been out shooting Florida like 30-18 at one time a couple of games ago, I believe it was. And I'm like, that's what they're just not capitalizing on either the power play or they're just not capitalizing on when they shoot on goal, in other words, too. Because
Yeah.
had a lot of shots on goal. And that's what hurt them in the kind of like the Dallas series, I believe it was, too. But luckily, I think Dallas ended up winning one of those where Edmonton outshot them by like 20 goals, it seems. But I guess it all matters what the final score on the scoreboard is, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting Stanley Cup. Our teams aren't there, so yeah, definitely interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, man, the Stanley Cup's always fun. I mean, you brought up a good point. Edmonton only had 7 shots on goal last game, I believe, through the second period. Going into the third, they only had 7 shots on goal. You're not going to win too many hockey games unless that goalie that you're shooting against is terrible, which it's the Stanley Cup. The goalie's not going to be terrible. That's a lot of times how these teams make the runs is they have really great goalie play. But yeah, no, game 3 is tomorrow night up in Edmonton. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. Those Canadians, they love their hockey, man. They get after it, and it's fun to watch. It really is. Speaking of another series that's been fun to watch, let's talk a little NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics are up 2-0 right now on the Dallas Mavericks. I don't want to make Kristen Johnson mad, but he is probably not having a good week so far. But I mean, Dallas wins and it changes the entire perspective. But we saw Kristaps Porzingis go down injured. He tweaked it late in the game, the 105-98 win in Game 2. But Porzingis would say after the game, "I'll die out there if we need. So I just kept going." So he said, obviously, I was a little bit limited, but the smart thing was to get Al Horford back in there and close out the game. He missed more than 5 weeks, as we know, with a calf strain before coming back in Game 1. And he appeared to tweak the same exact leg late in the fourth quarter on Sunday. So, but when you look at it, man, I mean, he said he feels good. What a game, John. What a game in Game 2. I do want to bring this up, too. The Celtics are now just the second team to win a finals game despite shooting below 30% from 3 on 30-plus attempts. They went 10 for 39, which was 25.6%. The 2002 Warriors did it. They shot 22.5% against the Celtics. Then the Celtics, right, from Game 2. 2019 Raptors did it. They shot 31.3% against the Warriors. And the 2020 Lakers did it. They shot 31% against the Heat. Mazzulla, who I think is a great basketball coach for Boston. He is a guy that when that hire was made, a lot of people were like, I don't know about that. Mm-hmm. He's proved them wrong. He would say after the game, usually what happens is you have empty possessions on the offensive end. Your defense starts to weigh in, and you start to mistrust the discipline of your spacing and your shot selection, and you end up giving up the transition and get cross match. So the guys trusting and staying disciplined, we were able to stay out of the cross matches, and we were able to keep the kind of game that we wanted to play. End quote. John, what's your thoughts on Drew Holiday?
Getting buckets when it matters most.
100%.
Getting buckets when it matters most is whether it's in that first quarter like he did when he went off a little bit or just finishing the game. with 11 rebounds and 26 points. 11 rebounds from a guard.
Well,
That's unheard of these days.
it is. And he had 38 points and no turnovers through the first two games of the series. That's the second most points through the finals without a turnover since individual turnovers began being tracked in 1978, 1977, 1978. He trails only Michael Jordan, who did it in 1998.
Yeah, the Celtics definitely got to get. Also, they got to also get Jason Tatum going though, man. Like he's 6 of 22 last game for the field, and we really thought maybe his points were probably going to be in single digits the whole game until that fourth quarter. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I felt about the Celtics going into that game. I'm like, Jason Kidd made up a good statement. He said Jordan Brown right now is playing better basketball than Jason Tatum is as we speak. So I'm like, he's making a great point. Jordan Brown is playing better basketball than Jason Tatum right now for the Celtics.
Yeah, but my question is this.
Yeah.
Why is Jason Kidd concerned about who's playing well for Boston when his team is now down 0-2 in the series?
He was asked that question, like, who's the better of the Celtics or whatever. I think after the game or pregame or whatever the other day when game 2. So he should have said no comment and just focus on that game. That's what he should have done. But like, of course, he's being nice to the media per se. Give them a pass because you know how media members are. They also want these storylines. Oh, Jason Kidd told us this, so we're gonna make a big story out of it. So there you go.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Game 3. I expect Dallas to make a run at some point. I don't know. I thought this series would go to 7 games. It may not reach 5 at this point in time. The way Boston's been playing. But John, we got Olyvia Sayer coming on from Georgia. It's coming on to talk Georgia baseball and college baseball with us. She'll be on here in the next about 10 minutes. So stay tuned for that. Up next, man, let's talk the burning question from today, John, and that is the UFL Championship. That is the United Football League from The Rock. Do you smell that?
Okay.
I'm just trying to. Do you smell what he's cooking?
It doesn't matter what you smell.
It does matter what you smell, and it does matter that he's cooking up the UFL Championship in St. Louis this week. I'm very excited for this. We would see the Brahmas take care of the Battlehawks in an incredible game. Like you talked about earlier, John, they rushed for a season-best 213 yards, racked up 9 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks on Sunday at the Dome, which is where the championship game will be played, as they took down the Battlehawks 25-15. What an odd score. But San Antonio is now 8-3, and they advance to the championship game. John, did you know that will be the first professional football game? The inaugural XFL championship game between the Battlehawks and Brahmas will take place in the Dome. That will be the last time a professional football game took place in the Lou was 2004 when St. Louis hosted the Carolina Panthers in the NFL divisional round.
Dang, showing our age a little bit here.
I mean, that's just what kind of research we give you here on the Sports Buffet. We pull information, folks. San Antonio picked up their first postseason win, and are now 8-3 under Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips is a winning coach, as we know, John. Super Bowl champion coach, defensive coordinator for Denver in Super Bowl 50. Turned the team around after taking over the team that went 3-7 last year and missed the playoffs. So speaking of UFL, for all these Showboats fans that want to trash John DiFilippo, trash the team. Here is your example right in front of you that if you'll trust the process and trust what's in front of you, I'm sure San Antonio fans are real pissed off that their team practices in Arlington, considering they're going to the UFL championship this week. I'm sure all their fans are like, they're not even a San Antonio team. Shut up. Nobody's listening to that crap. Nobody. That gets on my last nerve. It ticks me off. All right. Anyway, John, what a game, man. We saw combined 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and 1 interceptions between the teams, including back-to-back occasions in the first quarter. Chase Garbers, had a 63-yard touchdown to Justin Smith in the first quarter. That was the Brahmas' longest play of the season. And then Anthony McFarland Jr. followed that up with a 69-yard rushing touchdown in the third quarter. That was then the longest play of the season. So, what's your thoughts on this San Antonio team?
Scrappy group, can get after the quarterback. Like you said, Wade Phillips is a Hall of Famer. One of the winningest coaches is out there who's been coaching for like 55 years, they said on the telecast the other day.
Yeah,
other players around him seem to love him like everybody else. Like, it's a loving team that loves playing for each other as well. And some of these guys don't have a chance right now to play in the NFL, and they're still just trying to live their dream. And I think the San Antonio team is scrappy, and I think it's going to be interesting what kind of defense they're going to be playing against a 2-quarterback rotation coming up this Sunday with Adrian Martinez and good old Mr. Corral for the Birmingham football team. So it'll be interesting.
And speaking of, 100%. And then you got Birmingham that had to come back majorly to beat Michigan, scored 28 unanswered points to knock off the Michigan Panthers 31-18. I'll say that again. They scored 28 unanswered and won the game 31-18. That simple math will tell you what the score was when. Anyway. John, 10,287 fans there at Protective Stadium in Birmingham. Man, Birmingham is just, this team's incredible. This team is nuts, man. Skip Holtz and the Birmingham Stallions have now won their respective division/conference championship game for 3 straight seasons. They won the USFL South Division in 2022-2023, USFL Conference Champions in 2024, and then they will make their 3rd straight league appearance coming off back-to-back USFL championships in 22-23. And obviously, Holt and Birmingham are undefeated in the postseason in modern, quote, UFL/USFL history. Jake Bates, who was the kicker of the year, obviously. I mean, who else would you put in there, really? This guy's bombed like 70. I say 70. He's bombed some deep field goals, 60-plus yards this year. He also set a record, John. Did you know about the record Jake Bates set?
For longest field goals ever?
Nope. He attempted 6 field goals. He made 4, which is the most field goal attempts by one player in a game this season. The previous was 5, held by Jake Bates. So, I mean, this guy's just out there breaking his own records. But yeah, Birmingham, like I said, scored 28 unanswered points in the final 30 minutes, 53 seconds of the game. 10th win of the season. That's 3 straight seasons for the Stallions with double-digit victories. We got Olyvia Sayer coming on here momentarily. John, it's pick time.
Oh,
it's early. I know we normally don't do picks this early, but give me your pick, man. Who you got?
Yeah, dude.
You got Birmingham, or do you have the Brahmas?
Well, first of all, did you see where the Birmingham people were talking about their attendance problems over the week.
They only use
Like,
half a stadium.
I know, like y'all have the nicest stadium these days, better than Legion Field. Y'all get to, I know, I guess they're complaining about the game time, I guess, because of Birmingham traffic. Come on. Who knows? Or could go to Whataburger for lunch and then go to the game. Who knows?
You're playing in your third straight league championship and you're complaining?
Yeah.
That makes
Crazy.
no sense.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh God, pickle time. Oh man. Right now, on the top of my head, I'm gonna go with Birmingham.
Give me San Antonio, man. Give me the Brahmas, dude. I'm telling you. Wade Phillips, I've been a fan of his all year, been on a few of the press calls too. Did you see, speaking of Wade Phillips, did you see after that game him walking up? I can't remember the player's name, but it was a player for the Battlehawks. Literally walks up, camera, of course, there's a microphone right in his face. You know, always is. He literally tells the kid, hey, I'm getting ready to call the NFL and tell them somebody needs to pick you up. That's awesome, man. Like that is a sign of a just incredible, not just human, but an incredible eye for talent from a football coach perspective.
Yeah, I love how Coach Holtz does the same thing for Birmingham. To be honest with you, they just don't show him doing the same thing that Wade did over the weekend. But yeah, I think Coach Holtz, I like his coaching philosophy last couple of games by rotating his quarterback still, and I think that's one reason that Birmingham might be winning this ball game because you got two of the best quarterbacks in this UFL league, and Corral and Martinez, where Martinez hasn't really beaten you by his running ability this year. He's been beating you by passing the football, which some games he's thrown over 200 yards, and some games it feels like he's thrown over 300 yards passing. But definitely the quarterback play, I think, is going to be coming into play this weekend. I think he's going to be rotating again, probably just because you don't know what to expect from either quarterback because Corral had to come back and rally them last week as well on some drives to make them in the lead as well. But yeah, I'll say the game could be like a 27-24 type ball game. It could come down to that late field goal at the end of the game. Plus, you're playing in the dome, so you don't have to worry about rain or anything like that in the forecast. So that's always good. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup this Sunday afternoon. And also, I do want to say also, AJ McCarron does deserve an NFL spot again this coming up fall. Whether he's back with Cincinnati Bengals and just learning from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and them, or heck, Denver Broncos could use a veteran quarterback. Bring them to Denver and tell them to they would start over Zach Wilson because I'm sure Zach Wilson right now ain't the problem in Denver still. But
well, based on what I saw last year, on the sidelines from the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton, I wouldn't shake a stick at that thing. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. John, we got a very special guest in the background right now. Let's go ahead and get her on. It's time to talk a little college baseball with a woman. Oh, hold on. Let me get you in the right spot here. I'm sorry. With a woman that, come on, there we go. With a woman that knows college baseball, but specifically knows the Georgia baseball team. Miss Olyvia Sayer. Olyvia, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you guys so much for having me. And first of all, I heard you guys talking about the Broncos, clearly forgetting about Bo Nix, who was picked very high this season, which is certainly a choice. But yeah, I'm doing well, recovering from this weekend, got some rest, so that's always good.
Look at her, John. She walks in the room and just starts throwing football stats out. I love it. Let's start with what you're close to, and that's the Georgia baseball program. What a job by Wes Johnson. I mean, when you look at SEC Coach of the Year, no question he should have been, in my opinion, higher up. But, I mean, you already know this, Olyvia. I'm just telling my fans this. Last year, 29-27 on the season, 11-19 in conference play. This year, complete flip around, 43-17, 17-13 in conference play, number 7 national seed, hosted a regional and most recently a super regional. So let's talk a little bit about this most recent super regional. what a super regional it was. I mean, you only had just a few teams go to 3 games, and Georgia and NC State was one of them. So let's start with game one, Olivia.
Yeah. Game one, I would say it was definitely a stunner, definitely a shocker to both the Georgia fans in attendance and the team. You could really tell that in the post-game press conference. Corey Collins had a quote afterwards, and it was like, I don't know how much time I have left in Athens. And it kind of made everyone's eyes raise a little bit. Like, what do you mean? This is a team that's typically super confident. But the way that they were able to bounce back in that was really good to see. But just talking about game one specifically, I think Colton Smith didn't get hit as hard as people may have thought. Now, that being said, a hit is a hit, and you still don't want to give them up. But it wasn't like he was getting 110 miles an hour off the bat hit off of him. It was a lot of choppers, a lot of defensive miscues that really just snowballed that inning. I go back to that catch that Dylan Goldstein almost made in right field, or the bunt that Colton Smith should have picked up and thrown to first base, or the 3-6-3 double play that just didn't get turned, that just added to those base runners and really allowed that inning to snowball. And then after that, you just look at the hitters. They really changed their approach after the plate. At the plate after they got down. Wes Johnson even said as much after the game. He said, I feel like we had some guys going up there trying to hit 10-run homers, and frankly, that's just impossible. So I think both of those things really contributed to that loss.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I definitely did not expect an 18-1 blowout. In that first game, I really thought it was going to be like a 7-7 going to like the bottom of the ninth type ball game, because both teams do have power. As we've seen the ACC and the SEC all year long, power is key for them. Whether it's a 2-run home run, or a 3-run home run, or a single home run, or anything like that as well. But let's talk about the environment. I want to see, as you're a Georgia student covering this game, talk about the environment that the city of Athens, not only a football school now a baseball school, as the last couple of years has definitely showed how important this baseball community has rallied over the city of Athens.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's something that a lot of the guys on this team are really proud of, just bringing the baseball program back to a national stage, putting a product on display that fans are really proud of, and like you said, can really rally around. The environment at Foley Field this weekend was unlike I've ever seen. From Kudzu Hill, we have the hill, we have the greenhouse, they had signs hanging from there, and then there's the pastor's porch right next to it. And then you just go back to the crowd that was actually at the stadium. NC State's head coach said it after the game. He said he had major respect for Georgia's crowd and that he will actually be rooting for the Bulldogs in any sport as long as they're not playing NC State. So that was really cool to see. And the fact that Wes Johnson has just brought this program back to prominence, brought excitement within this program, was reflected within the crowd this weekend.
So you look at game two, and I mean, that's just baseball, right? 19-1 game one, and then 11-2 game two. So it sets up palpable. It's not even the right word to describe what that crowd was. But it sets up an incredible game three where Georgia ended up falling to NC State 8-5. But I noticed on one of your tweets last night, you really spoke highly about the players from Georgia that were hanging around on the field and really soaking in what had been accomplished, not just this year, but for their careers. Talk a little bit about that moment, because I know that had to have been special.
Yeah, and you look at just Georgia's starting lineup last night, I believe it was 6 of the 9 guys are either seniors out of eligibility or Charlie Condon. So that was really the last time that this group's going to be together, and I think they really realized that. Trey Phelps, the freshman, said it after the game. He said he really wanted the team to just soak in that loss, soak in that time together, and you saw it reflected, which is how long they lingered. I think some of them stayed out there for an hour. And that's the thing about this team is you could really tell they really enjoy playing with each other, whether it's their post-game home run celebrations, just the dugout, how they act in media availabilities. They really enjoyed each other's company, which was rare to see given the amount of transfers that Wes Johnson pulled into this program. But I think they really just wanted to cherish those last few moments together on the field.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Olivia. Wes brought up a great point. All the players just hanging out after hours after hours after hours after that ball game is embracing the brotherhood. Um, the real question is, I want to talk about is the women's basketball team, since you do cover the women's basketball team a little bit as well for the Red and Black website. Women's basketball team has not really been up to par, in my opinion, up to par lately. Women's basketball team finished the year 12-18 last year. What's the phase this year going into the 2024-2025 season? Could we see maybe a Georgia team maybe going back to the NCAA tournament?
I mean, that's the goal, and that's definitely what everyone within that program is thinking about. I think the biggest question is how does Georgia replace Javin Nicholson? Because I don't know if you guys watched the SEC tournament last season. She was Georgia's entire offense, and as a team, I think Georgia went 0 for 12 on 3-pointers. And so the big question of how they're going to replace Javin, they have a couple of people that can replace her, such as an Asia Avenger who transferred last season. They have a couple of redshirt sophomore. The move that surprised me was Zoisha Smith actually transferred out to Georgia Tech. She was really strong for Georgia, especially from that 3-point line. And I just think the question of how, same thing with baseball this past season, how are all these new players going to work and act as one team? And Georgia does have a really good freshman class coming in. They signed a couple of top prospects within ESPN's top 100, 2 of which are actually twins, and then I believe there were 2 more. And I actually spoke with the twins' mom, and she said that she has full belief in this program, full belief in Coach Abe. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Georgia does with her at the helm again.
So, Olivia, looking at who all you cover for the Red and Black there in Athens, Georgia, but you're also a dancer for the Georgettes. So, what kind of? I mean, that's got to be fun. You go cover everybody, and then you get to go do your own thing at the same time. Talk a little bit about that dynamic.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute blast. I've always grown up a sports fan, so just getting to be at the games and more specifically, getting to be on the field at Sanford Stadium, especially during those night games when those red lights cut on, you hear the crowd of 92,000 just yelling on their feet. It is such an incredible experience, and I'm very thankful that I've gotten to be a part of it for 2 years.
The Georgia football team. I wasn't going to mention it, John, but she brought it up. So the Georgia football team is, I mean, it's a powerhouse. Let's just call it what it is. With Saban stepping away, the question around the nation is, does Kirby become the new Saban? And that's a lot to put on somebody, obviously. But you look at Kirby, obviously we know where he came from. We know how long he was with Nick. And you also know by recent years how much Kirby really wanted to beat Nick. I don't know that he'd come out and say it per se, but it's pretty obvious he wanted to beat him. What is it like to be, you just talked about it, being on the field, 90,000. You literally feel that. What is it like when that team is really, I mean, obviously right now they're absolutely rolling.
Yeah, well, first of all, back to your question. I mean, according to Lane Kiffin, Kirby Smart is the new head leader of the SEC. So I think that dynamic is going to be super interesting. But it's so much fun. My parents actually joke with me all the time. They're like, when we were in school, Georgia wasn't this good. So you are very lucky. And you can really feel it just reflected on game weeks leading up. They're painting the field at Sanford Stadium. There's just a vibe and a buzz around campus when it's Georgia football season. And what's been cool to see is how that's been carried over to other sports, such as your baseball, such as your basketball. The Steg was sold out multiple times for the men's team last season. But when sports at UGA are good, it's a really fun environment for everyone involved.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I haven't been to a game yet in Athens, but I've been to the Olympics in '96 in Athens. So that somewhat counts when they had Argentina versus Brazil playing that soccer game. Well, heck, there's like 60,000 people at the soccer game back in day in '96. But yeah, you talked about off camera with us a little bit how you were a fan in that Ohio State game where the clock struck midnight where you missed that field goal. You were a fan in that game. So just talk about the environment in that game because you talked about you were a fan. You weren't a student yet per se, but how was that to see when you're a Georgia fan growing up, you got to see a missed field goal at midnight the next day.
Yeah, I think I told you probably one of the best days of my life. That experience was incredible. The game was something that I'll never forget. And truthfully, I'm not an optimist during Georgia games. So I'll be thinking about everything that can go wrong, everything that will go wrong. So I 100% thought he was going to make that. But he didn't. It was so crazy how it happened right at midnight. And the thing about that game, as you guys know, there were so many things that happened to set Georgia up in that position. Whether you look at that timeout call from Kirby on the would have been fourth down conversion, you look at the stretch by Brock Bowers on the sideline. There were just so many things that had to go in Georgia's direction for them to get the win during that game.
All right, Olyvia, I'm putting you on the spot now.
Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot. Who wins the College World Series?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I know. So, I mean, the obvious choice is Tennessee just because of the season that it's had. The just power. Christian Moore has been incredible this year. However, even though Tony Vitello doesn't really believe in it, the curse of the number one seed. But the team that I'm looking at is Kentucky. It was the first team that Georgia played in the SEC. It went on the road. It got swept. Kentucky held its offense to not many runs. And so I think what Kentucky does in this College World Series is going to be super interesting. And they're definitely my dark horse to win it.
First ever appearance for Kentucky in the College World Series as well. Man, John, where do you find you've been nailing it with the guests, man. This is amazing. She does a little bit of everything. I mean, she talks softball, she talks women's baseball, men's baseball, not women's baseball, men's baseball. Women's baseball will be softball, by the way. But Olyvia, what are some stories that you've gotten a chance to research, write? I mean, I'm a writer for us, so I understand that it takes a build. What are some stories that have been very special to you as a writer so far?
Yeah, so I was telling a little bit off camera. I got to speak with Andy Landers, and it was actually for a class assignment. It was write down 3 people you want to interview, and I did 2, and then just as a pipe dream, I did Landers. And he was completely okay with it. He actually spoke to me for an hour and a half. And it was one of those things where I was like, feel free to cut me off whenever. And I would ask a question, and then he was like, do you mind if I tell you a quick story? And I was like, absolutely, 100%. That's why I'm here. But then another one that I did, I got to speak with 2 of the security personnel that actually work Georgia football games. And they both actually grew up Georgia fans. And so just getting to hear the game day experience from their perspective was really cool.
Most definitely. What is the name Mark Richt mean to Georgia?
Yeah. I mean, I think it means a lot. Had Kirby not been in the position to be hired, I definitely don't think he would have been let go. I think he's a guy that really just brought this program back to where it was. You look at the Ray Goff years, you look at the Jim Donnan years, and what Mark Richt did for this program is something that is still instilled within Kirby Smart's culture. And he's definitely a guy that Coach Smart has respect for as well. So I think whenever you say the name Mark Richt, Georgia fans are going to do nothing but smile and have fond memories of that guy and what he did for Georgia.
Can I answer that too?
Oh, I think Mark is an amazing man. Go ahead, John.
Can I answer that too, real quick? By the way, as a Georgia fan, kind of. But yeah, Mark Richt, like you brought up, Olyvia. Every time you see him on the ACC network now, it's good to see him talk football. You know, we really didn't have to do a job, but ACC network always wants coaches' advice from top to bottom. And I think that's one reason they brought Mark Richt on, to get his knowledge week in, week out, traveling with the ACC network and say, hey, what is your insight on this? What is your insight on a player perspective? You know, that type of stuff. Hey, I think he's like the Tony Romo of the NFL, where he points out on defense what the quarterback can do differently or something like that. You know, yeah, Mark Richt, great guy. I hate that he's going through what he's going through right now, you know, regarding that terrible disease that he's got. But hey, he's even a great author because he wrote some books.
Yeah.
And he's also a great leader by that, because some of his books are pretty entertaining as well. and talking about his historic days at Georgia and Miami as well. But my question, Olivia, real quick regarding Mark Richt, what kind of players did you enjoy watching under Mark Richt growing up? And I want to go with mine real quick, and then I'll have Wes, and then I'll have you go under. But I want to say David Pollock were my days, and AJ Green and whatnot, and which I still think David Pollock deserves a job on ESPN, but it's a different story for another day. But AJ Green, David Pollock, and then of course, a lot of people are not giving Bobo a lot of credit still on how he came back, at Georgia as well. And Bobo was one of the good quarterbacks, and now he's still doing good at Georgia right now as we speak. His second tenure at Georgia, but he's doing a great job. So, Wes, how about yours?
Well, I mean, you stole David Pollock. I mean, David's David. I mean, that dude, his podcast is amazing. Pipe Dream, like she just talked about. Pipe Dream is David Pollock. I would love to sit down and just pick his brain for about. You ain't even got to give me an hour. You can give me 10 minutes. That's all I need. And David Pollock. There's some quarterbacks back in the day that were so much fun to watch, though. Man, that's tough, John. All right, Olivia, you've got more tenure in Georgia than either one of us combined. So you give us your top players under Mark Richt.
Yeah, and I was actually going to bring this up when we were talking about what Rick did for this program, but the recruiting that he put in place for Kirby Smart, and one of my all-time favorite Georgia players has to be Nick Chubb. I just think on the field, he was almost unstoppable to a point. And then off the field, he was even a better guy. And then you just look at that whole group with your Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Lorenzo Carter, Davin Bellamy, Roquan Smith, who is probably one of the best. I mean, you've mentioned Pollock, but probably one of the best defensive players Georgia has ever seen. And what he did in that Rose Bowl in 2017, that was insane. His whole year there was crazy. And so really just that whole class was super special. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Nick Chubb.
Totally. I mean, I didn't forget about Nick Chubb, but the name didn't pop in my head. So, Olivia, now it's your chance to promote yourself. So tell us how to follow you, where to go to look at all your work, and, here's your shot to just tell everybody about you.
Yeah, so I guess you can follow me on Twitter at Olyvia K. Sayer. Olyvia Sayer was taken, so I threw the K in there for my middle initial. And then as far as that, I'm just doing some stuff with the Red and Black over the summer. I'm actually the assistant sports editor, so that's been super fun to get into an editorial role. And then just doing some things with 680 The Fan. I've joined the Buck Belue show a couple of times, which was a really cool opportunity because I had never done radio before. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have going on this summer.
What road trips are you looking forward to in the fall?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm hoping so much. I would love to go to Pasadena because being a part of the band, we don't travel to all of the away stuff. It just depends on tickets and derbies and what year in school you are. But for the postseason, I really have my eye on the Rose Bowl.
That would be fun. I've got a buddy. Well, John knows him as well. We got a buddy that actually marched in the Rose Bowl parade back in the day, and he said it's an incredible experience.
Yeah,
Olivia,
I did hear it's long though.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, it's very long. It's an all day process.
Yeah, definitely.
But Olyvia Sayer has joined us. Olivia, thank you very much for carving out 30, 45 minutes, 20, 30 minutes of your time today. We really appreciate it, and we hope to get you back on because there's always Georgia football. There's always content. As you know, sports doesn't stop. We don't stop here at the Sports Buffet either. We go year round.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was really nice talking with you guys, and thank you for the opportunity.
Always, and focus
Not
on
a problem.
First. We always say that.
Yeah. Bye.
Man, John, she was incredible, man. Let's talk a little bit of the college football, our college baseball World Series real quick. So you've got Tennessee, number 1 ranked, 7th appearance at all time. Last appearance was 2023. You've got Kentucky, first appearance ever for the Kentucky Wildcats, ranked number 2. Texas A&M, 8th appearance. Last appearance was in 2022. In North Carolina, 12th appearance. Last appearance was 2018. Florida State, most appearances maybe ever. 24th time to be there. Never won it though. Let's not forget that. Never won it, but last appearance was 2019. NC State, aforementioned, we talked about them as they knocked off Georgia, 10 ranked NC State, fourth appearance all time. Last time there, 2021. Florida, 14th appearance. That's I told you, John. I called that one. Don't sleep on this Florida team, man. I'm telling you.
Game 3 though.
True. I mean, true, but but then now let's go look at the matchups, John, because I think this is very intriguing. Now, I haven't gone and looked at the bracket, okay, so I don't really know who's where. You've probably taken a little more deeper look at that.
I think it's for the
Number 1 Florida State or number 1 Tennessee takes on number 8 Florida State. Number 4 North Carolina takes on number 12 Virginia. Number 2 Kentucky takes on number 10 NC State. And number 3, Texas A&M takes on SEC foe Florida. So what's your initial thoughts? Now, of course, these games start Friday. We'll be back on Friday evening to talk more about it. But, John, what's your initial thoughts on these games?
Yeah, it does start out with North Carolina and Virginia at 1 o'clock Central Time on Friday afternoon, followed by Tennessee, Florida State. And then Saturday, you got Kentucky playing North Carolina State, and then Texas A&M playing Florida. Interesting matchup. I love the matchups. Like Olyvia brought up, the curse of number 1 seed. Overall, Tennessee does not have an easy road. They played Florida State in that first game, and then they could either well play North Carolina or Virginia in that second game where if Tennessee does lose that first game, loser goes home game against North Carolina or Virginia. But the scoreboard operator better be awake the whole ball game is all I got to say, first of all. Because I definitely think you're going to see a lot of runs scored and a lot of hits. So, yeah, I think the North Carolina-Virginia game could very well go either way, but the way that North Carolina is hitting the ball right now, it's unstoppable. And I know their ace probably didn't – it's going to see how teams actually throw their ace the first game, which to me I think you would, just because you don't want to have that doubleheader or not 2 games in one day per se. That's one reason I think you should start your ace in game 1 and get that game over with and just see how he does. But I think North Carolina – can beat Virginia. I really think North Carolina's playing hot right now regarding the baseball bats. They're powering over the fence. We're guarding like that West Virginia series was fun to watch, first of all. And yeah, North Carolina I think can take Virginia in that game. What about you?
Man, it's tough, man. I mean, Tennessee's good. That's the thing. They're good and they're battle tested. And I mean, I'm telling you, Evansville gave them all they wanted in that super. All they freaking wanted. But man, when those bats wake up for Tennessee, they can score runs and they can score runs quick. Now, I think a difference here, John, is everyone's in the same stadium now. Mm-hmm. Whereas before you had Tennessee. Tennessee's got some short fences. You know what I mean? Like there's everybody's now you're in Omaha. Now you're at the mecca of college baseball. Speaking of that, we need the college baseball game back. Let me just go ahead and slide that in here real quick. As we're talking about college baseball. The old game had Rosenblatt. The new game would have real Omaha, the new Omaha. Imagine the Texas A&M fans doing the ball 5 and the new. Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun. Anyway, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The bubbles, yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. I mean, Tennessee's really good. I think Florida's playing really good baseball right now. Texas A&M's one of the like 5th team to ever come back twice in a super regional to win the super regional. And most of those teams didn't even win the championship. So I mean, it's that. I mean, you talked about it, dude. That number 1 curse. I say 1999 is a long time ago. It feels like it is. I remember 1999. It's a long time ago to me. But that's the last time a number one seed has won in Omaha, and that was the Miami Hurricanes in 1999. It's been that long, but it's been that long for a reason. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. It takes a little bit of help.
Yeah, it does.
And I
It
think, man,
does.
it's so hard, dude. It really is. Like, I think it's going to be. I mean, like I said, I haven't looked at the bracket. I would assume A&M's probably on the other side of the bracket from Tennessee. Am I correct on that? Give me Tennessee and Florida for the title.
Ooh. Best out of 3 format.
Give me Tennessee to win it. Give me Tennessee to break the curse. It's a bad curse, though. That's a horrible curse. I think they've got the team to do it. They've got the pitching. They've got the hitting. They've got the defense. Like I said, they're going to need a little bit of help. I mean, you look at LSU last year. You look at, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. You're going to need a little bit of help throughout the way. And I mean, what I find even cooler is it's split. ACC, SEC. You got some SEC teams playing each other. You got some ACC teams playing each other. It's just Omaha's a blast, man. Every year it's a lot of fun to watch. Give me your champion, man. Give me your champion today on Tuesday. We're 30 days away, but who cares? Give me your champion.
I'll just go back. I'll do game by game real quick too while we're at it. I take North
Yeah,
Carolina.
we got about 5 minutes.
I'll do North Carolina over Virginia. Tennessee squeaks one by 4-3 type ball game against Florida State. Kentucky, North Carolina State, like Olyvia brought up, North Carolina State been hitting the ball great right now, and so has Kentucky. They have had their bullpen help them the last couple of games as well in Kentucky. But I love how Kentucky is playing the baseball right now. She brought up a good point. Kentucky pitching and batting and coaching has helped them out the last couple of games as well for Kentucky. And it's a great story regarding Kentucky baseball coach, too, if you ever want to go back and listen to his press conference as well. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm going to go with 100%. Kentucky over North Carolina State. So, Texas A&M, Florida. Yeah, Florida's playing hot right now. Bat flips are going crazy for Florida.
Some people didn't even have Florida making the tournament.
I know. Well, true. They're like the last 4 in, I believe it was.
They were exactly. I mean, this is wild.
It's like the Ole Miss from a couple of years ago when Ole Miss was the last 4 in, and Ole Miss has played so hot in the postseason and played so hot in Omaha, and they ended up winning the national title. But I'm gonna go with A&M just because I like their pitching staff right now, and I definitely like nothing against Florida, but I can see A&M winning the game like 3-2 type ball game because both teams are playing so well right now, and they're going to figure out the defenses. But man, I'm going for that. It's so hard because all these teams are so even.
Yeah,
from top to bottom, like from coaching to batting to pitching to fan bases to. You know what? I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go with Tennessee to win it all. But they might have to fight out of losers bracket if they do, because that first game against Florida State is only a toss up.
That's tough, man. That's tough. That's a hell of a draw.
Tough draw first game. And then if you lose that first game, you got to play either Virginia or North Carolina in that second game, and then you'll just have to fight yourself through the loser bracket. But I don't think the road's gonna be easy for Tennessee. You'll have to have a doubleheader or play 2 games in one day type maybe down the road. And of course, as much as I do, it seems like year in, year out also, Omaha does get some scattered summer thunderstorms during this time frame as well, where they do push some games back or they push a game the next day and that type of stuff. So it's definitely going to be interesting how Tennessee and Tony Vitello not only use their pitching staff, but yeah, Tennessee could win it all. But I want to call out the NCAA for 1 second, if you don't mind, because I did not find this out until over the weekend. But why does the NCAA only carry 27 players to a regional, super regional, and then Omaha? To me, that is ridiculous. You don't see an NCAA.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question.
You don't see an NCAA football team like Georgia or Tennessee or whoever for their bowl game have 27 players to 40 players on the roster. That's
Right.
That's bull crap, man. Like these players have earned their right to be on the roster because think about it, especially the way that Tennessee handled the news over yesterday regarding Russell, who's going to have Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can probably bring a player, maybe different circumstances in the postseason if they're on the main roster and they get injured. But still, man, like now the kids basically cannot even travel to Omaha with the team.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Now they got to find their own way in Omaha. They cannot even be in a dugout per se either, I don't believe. After finding that out over the weekend.
It makes no sense, man.
That's like ridiculous, man. Like NCAA, y'all need to fix that and let the kids enjoy the environment, especially the way the NIL and transfer portal it is these days. Now, kids might enter the portal because of it, for all we know.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be. It's just ridiculous to me. Like, let more teams have more players down the road for regionals, super regionals, and then Omaha because 27 players on the roster is nothing, man. It's really not.
I agree 100%. All right, man. It's dessert time. You see that little dessert on the screen, John. You see it. You see it right there. You see it. All right. Let's go over our trivia questions, and I'll give the answers for anyone watching and listening. We thank you, everybody watching and listening right now on Facebook, YouTube, and X as well. So, John, here we go, man. Trivia question number 1. It's Tuesday, so we do trivia here. In 32 seasons in the SEC, how many winning seasons does the Arkansas football program have? John, what was your answer earlier? You said 7, correct?
7 or 8, yeah.
The correct answer is 9. The correct answer is 9. In 32 years, they've had 9 winning seasons. You could simply do the math and figure, divide 32 by 9 to get the average there. Man, football season's right around the corner. We're going to be getting more into it soon. John and I have been diving into this Phil Steele magazine that came out yesterday, digital version. Arkansas is a talented football team, too. We'll be talking about the SEC more in depth, especially with some new additions coming over to the SEC. All right, John. Trivia question number 2 today, man. Tuesday trivia. In 2023, what was the Memphis football record when rushing for 100 yards or more in a game? What do you think, John?
8-1.
In 2023, the Tigers were 10-0 when they topped 100 yards in a game and were 0-3 when they did not. 10-0 for Memphis last year when they ran for over 100 yards. We'll be getting more into Memphis. Pay attention to sportstar.live. We'll be having some articles coming out today on Memphis football, on Arkansas football, and be paying even closer attention as the week moves on down because we're going to have some interesting news, some possible breaking news later in the week if everything comes to fruition. Speaking of breaking news, we did break some news on Sunday where we found out through sources with the Northwest Arkansas Naturals that Noah Murdoch was going to be making the move from Omaha to from Northwest Arkansas Naturals to the Omaha Storm Chasers. The move was announced Monday officially by the Kansas City Royals. But shout out to Murdoch for making that jump. Man, John, it's almost that time, man. You get into June, you get into July, folks start moving around, they start bebopping up and down the minor league systems, and then you look up and boom, they're in Kansas City, or they're in Cleveland, or they're in Colorado. They're at the major league team. So very, very interesting time right now for minor league baseball and Major League Baseball for that matter. But um, John, man, what a show, dude. Olyvia Sayer came on, knocked it out of the park when it comes to Georgia. Man, she knows a little bit of everything, dude. She came on and was telling us about other sports. Like I wasn't even expecting that.
Yeah, she does a great job for not as a student. Like I call her, we can call her a student athlete part of the game, right? Because the way
Yeah.
that she started the band, whatnot. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, band's not a sport," and whatnot. But they still put in long hours, day in day out, and they
And it's hot, and they're wearing them plumes. And yeah, I've been to the band. I know it's hot. I get it.
she's doing a great job not only as a student athlete but also a writer for the Red and Black, and also like she brought up, she's working for a radio. She's actually doing some radio stunts as well, and yeah, if anybody wants to go check out her work, go to redandblack.com. She does a great job, but I'm anxious. Like she brought up, this year with Georgia, football is going to be interesting. Could they really go back to the national title game, and could they make some noise in that playoff? It'll be time to tell, but Georgia's two tough road games are at Texas and at Ole Miss. So it's going to be Carson Beck and company and the Georgia Bulldogs and Kirby Smart. But it's going to be interesting how the Georgia Bulldogs not only look in the football perspective, but yeah, softball was a little bit of a disappointment. We brought up softball a little bit, but finishing the year 43-19, where I really thought this team could make some noise in that super regional and then go to Omaha, or not Omaha, but Oklahoma City. But Coach Johnson, like you brought up, great job on baseball this year for the Georgia baseball team.
Yep.
To me, he definitely should have been up there for Coach of the Year as well. And
Agreed.
student athletes for every school right now that's still playing sports, because it's still a long summer, it seems, for y'all. So keep up the good work regarding sports as well. If you're still playing college baseball right now, listening to our show right now. Well,
No doubt, man. Sports Buffet right here on the 4-Star Sports Radio Network. We are generally we're Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This week we did Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, just to kind of switch it up a little bit. We wanted to get Olyvia on and make sure that our schedule fit hers, and it worked out well. She did an incredible job. We'll be back tomorrow evening, tomorrow night with more. We'll talk more college baseball. We'll talk more in depth to college football. We'll get into the American Athletic Conference and Memphis Tigers. We'll also get into the SEC and Arkansas Razorbacks as well. But for John Sturdivant, I am Wes Pruitt. Thank you to everybody watching and listening. And as always, be good.